Like usual, leakers on duty have dropped the balance changes for the upcoming season, so today we're going to be breaking them down. Obviously, this is a video that would usually be on my Bobby Reacts channel, but yesterday I set a challenge for myself because my content has not been where I want it to be, that I'm going to upload to this channel every day for the next 30 days, and if I fail the challenge, I'll be giving away one of my extra red magics. Just want to give that context. Before we hop into the video, let's get into it. Going down the list, we got a few different SMG buffs. First of them is going to be a horizontal recoil reduction for the MSMC. To be honest, this is something that we've seen a number of times in the past, and it hasn't been something that I felt was significant enough to really make it a viable option, either because they haven't reduced the horizontal recoil enough, or simply because of the fact that the gun has way too many other downsides, like its lack of magazine capacity and bad bullet spread accuracy that really limit it in mid to long range. Next, we have an OTS 9 buff that brings the weapon's bullet speed from 550 meters per second up to 650 meters per second. That's one that I think is going to feel solid. But once again, for SMGs, you're not taking a lot of range gunfights. I don't think that's going to be a change. That's going to have a massive impact one way or another. However, the next buff that we're getting is one that I'm really excited for because it's for a gun that has long been underrated in the game and needs an opportunity to shine. The Chickum is getting a buff where the stomach multiplier is increased from 1.05 up to 1.3, which is a massive difference. This is a huge change because it now means that even if you hit a lower abdomen shot with a leg shot, you're still going to be able to one burst, and it's also going to increase the weapon's consistency across a lot of the longer to medium ranges as well. I've long felt that the Chickum was very underrated. I think it's a lot better than a lot of the other burst alternatives that we currently have in the game, and hopefully with this buff, it could potentially turn into a top 1 or 2 burst option in the game. Next, we got an S36 buff. This is a weapon that I feel like has gone under the radar for quite a while. The one thing that is a major downside for it is the fact that it has sizable horizontal recoil, but its rate of fire and its damage have become really consistent with some of the recent buffs that it's had, and they are now buffing its ADS time from 480 milliseconds down to 420. That's a pretty substantial difference, especially when you look at the different multipliers that you can get for some of the attachments. We may be looking at the S36 as one of the better close range options as regards LMGs in the game right now. ICR is getting another buff. It feels like another one of those guns that's gotten a ton of buffs, but it hasn't made a huge difference. The bullet impact going from 1.1 up to 1.2, which is going to be solid, but as we saw with the M13, it's not something that you're really going to notice a ton as someone using the gun. It's mostly something that you notice whenever you're going against. They're also getting an ADS time reduction of 28 milliseconds. That's going to be solid as well, so it can be a little more usable in the mid to close range, or you can potentially just use that ADS speed addition to instead build it out for more accuracy and damage. KN44 buff is one that gets me excited for a couple different reasons. Number one, you guys know the KN has long been one of my favorite assault rifles in the game. Number two, it's actually a pretty significant buff in that they're buffing the chest multiplier from 1.2 up to 1.3. It's also getting one of the bigger bullet impact buffs that we've seen, from a 1 up to a 1.2. Obviously, that's double the bullet impact buff that we're seeing for the ICR. But most importantly, when you look at that chest multiplier increase from a 1.2 up to a 1.3, that's going to drastically increase your odds of being able to 3-tap with the KN44, especially because those arm multipliers are so very close to that 33 damage value. Obviously, with 33 being around what you need in order to 3-tap with a weapon, the fact that the first damage phase for the KN44, with only one attachment for range being the marksman suppressor, putting it all the way out at 35 meters, means this thing is going to shred anytime you can land one of those chest shots. Next, we got a Kilo Bolt buff. This is one of those that I feel like is more of a quality of life improvement because I don't think it's going to put it in a position to really contend with the top snipers in the game, but for people that really do love marksman, 100 millisecond fire interval difference is going to be a pretty substantial change, so that's going to feel really good, especially for people that want to play really aggressive with it. They also increase the hit flinch that it gives from 1 up to 1.8 and reduce the hit flinch that you receive from 3.6 down to 2.5. All of those should combine to make this a much better aggressive marksman rifle, because because as of right now, the marksman rifle category outside of the SKS just doesn't serve a realistic place in the meta. Next, we got a HVK nerf, which is something I've been asking for a long time, and while it's not quite exactly what I was hoping for, I think it is going to help to some extent. They nerfed the headshot multiplier, which absolutely was necessary. It goes from 1.3 for the base gun, not for the large cal, 1.3 for the base gun down to a 1.2, and assuming that it's going to have a 0.1 reduction when using the large cal, the impact for it should mean that it's no longer able to 2-tap to the head in the second damage phase, which it's currently able to do. It is still going to be able to 2-tap to the head in that first damage phase, but at the bare minimum, it reduces some of its lethality a little bit, and that reduction to the headshot multiplier is going to help you a little more whenever you're taking range fights against the HVK as well. Next nerf is not actually listed here in the balance changes, but as you can see right here, it does get a hit flinch reduction from 0.65 all the way down to 0.62. I think that may actually be a typo because the notes that they put in the Discord server says it actually got a strafe multiplier decrease from 0.65 down to 0.62, so obviously that's just going to mean that the Type 19 strafe's a little bit slower, which I don't think is going to hurt a whole lot for Type 19 players. They've also buffed Vulture yet again. I don't know how many times they're going to buff this thing, but first they gave it 20 extra HP whenever you pick up an ammo pack, then they buffed it to 40. Now they're buffing it up to 60, so pretty soon Vulture's going to be at a place where you pick one up and it instantly fills up all of your HP. I'm starting to feel more and more like this is something that people are going to start to need to use just because of how quickly you can potentially gain back your HP. They also adjusted hardlines so that its effect doesn't actually show on the final score of the match, which I think is very fair given the fact that I've seen a lot of people, including myself, get MVPs solely because they're using hardline. Iron Lungs actually got a massive buff. The breath time boost increased from 6 seconds up to 15 seconds. That's something I'm expecting snipers are going to start to use a little bit more. Firepower support got a buff as well. That's the perk that allows you to steal enemy score streaks when shooting them down. They actually increase the chance of gaining enemy score streaks, so once again, a potential counter for persistence given how dominant that has become. Gravity spikes got a buff. They're now going to charge a little bit faster, which I think will be nice. Thankfully, Equalizer is getting yet another nerf. The duration decreased from 25 seconds down to 20. I think it's getting closer to a place where it's actually going to be balanced, as we've seen a number of different nerfs to the equalizers over the past couple of updates. This is actually a buff, a little bit of a typo, but concussion grenade actually got a reduction to its time to detonation, so it's going to go off really soon after you throw it, down from 3 seconds to 2, which, especially given the fact that it also got a range buff in the most recent update, I think is going to start to rival the toxicity that we see in the flashbang. And last but not least, a couple of different buffs to the Tempest projectile hit radius increase, fix some hit registration issues, and improve the hip fire trajectory as well. That's gonna wrap things up for the video. Let me know you guys' thoughts on the balance changes in the comments down below. Just realized I forgot to say it before, but if you guys want to enter the giveaway for the red magic, all you have to do is go and like this tweet on my Twitter. I know there will be some of you that say, Bobby, I don't have a Twitter. I promise you guys, it's very easy to make. I believe you can figure it out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.